Before we get into this fortnight's video, I just wanted to share a quick message. Since sharing my last video, I've actually had quite a few farmers and people from the regional communities reach out to me and thank me for highlighting the issues that they're currently facing. So in response to that, I just want to highlight some charities that are out there. So for example, Rural Aid. As you'll see from the news, Rural Aid helps support farmers with the hay drops, but also a lot of other things that you wouldn't have realised, such as mental health programs for farmers and people in the regional communities who just wouldn't get help from anyone else. The second charity is a relatively new one. This one's called AGMind Australia. They focus primarily on the mental health issues facing farming communities and regional communities across New South Wales and Australia. On behalf of my family and all the families and friends that I have across regional New South Wales and Australia, I would feel greatly appreciative if anyone could just donate to those two charities. Out here, pests don't just damage crops. They cost farmers thousands every year. These costs are either passed on to consumers or forced back onto the farmers by big supermarkets, ever increasing the pressure on Aussie farming families. And now, controlling them is getting harder and more expensive. Across regional New South Wales, farmers are dealing with rising pest populations, such as rabbits, foxes, and feral pigs. At the same time, the cost of actually controlling them is going up. Companies like Bralca provide professional pest monitoring services to farmers all across New South Wales. They compile reports to document pest movements across properties using drones, providing accurate, real-time data so farmers can better plan management strategies. But like everything else right now, their costs are rising too. Fuel prices, travel distances, and operating costs all add up. And those costs don't disappear, they get passed on. For farmers, that makes a tough decision. Spend more on pest control or continue losing more to pests. And when control gets delayed, pest populations don't stay the same. They grow. So Ben, what are you seeing on the ground at the moment in terms of pest activity?
In New South Wales, like right across the board, we're just seeing that pests, particularly pigs, wild dog and deer, is just on the increase. It's just what's happening.
What are the biggest cost increases affecting your work at the moment?
Our work covers a fair slice of New South Wales and right across Australia. So really for us, the costs that are increasing is fuel. There's no way to look around that one. You know, it costs $350 every time we fill our ute up. And given that any particular job might have about 5,000 kilometres of travel to do that job, do the maths, it adds up. But on the bigger scheme, it's the fixed costs that we never talk about. It's the insurance, all of those costs that are built underneath before you can even go to work. They add up, and then fuel is just the slice on top.
Are farmers starting to delay or reduce pest control because of costs?
Yeah, Jack, we're seeing some farmers who are getting quotes on pest work and just going, look, we just got to hold off because the dollars aren't there. And that's probably 70% of people. However, there are that 30% who are saying we're just getting hammered and we can't stay in business if we don't control the pests. So that tends to be where we're doing the bulk of our pest survey work and pest control work.
So for farmers, it's definitely a double-edged sword.
Yeah, look, it's really tough on farmers because if you spend money on pest control, it's just money out of your pocket. You don't get anything back for it. But the other side of it, the reality is, if farmers don't spend money on pest control, they're just getting smashed. You know, we've got growers who are, particularly with wild dogs, it's really hurting their profits and they're losing serious numbers, but also it hurts when you go out into a paddock and you see sheep that have been mauled by wild dogs. And then the other one is just lambing time, with foxes, wild dogs and pigs. We've got some customers or clients who we do work for who previously had marked only 30% lambs out of their lambing ewes. Now, if you're losing 70% of your lambs to feral pigs, you basically can't afford not to control them.
What happens when pest control is delayed?
What we're seeing on the ground is if we hold off on pest control of any sort, be it total hold off, or sometimes we just say, oh, people might go, oh, look, let's just back off. We'll just do a touch around the edges. Numbers just do that. Numbers just climb. And what we're seeing, even if we do put pest control in place, if we're not controlling at least 70% of the pests on that site, the numbers will be greater next year. So to give you some rough numbers, yeah, if we go and map a site and there's 200 feral pigs, if we don't control 140 or 50 of those in that job, the following season we often see 250 pigs more sometimes. And some sites we've mapped, pigs have been in the thousands.
Unbelievable numbers. What are the biggest challenges you face today that you didn't face before?
Challenges we face today, that's a really good one, Jack. I guess, interestingly, it's probably not business challenges, because business has always been challenging. It just comes in different ways. The challenges we're really facing these days is perception from people who go, why are you out there hunting? They use the word hunting. We don't hunt. We control pests. So we use high-level systems to do a baseline survey. We use qualified team members to perform control programs effectively, and it's all reported on. But we still have that perception where people say, oh, you're hunting deer. It's like, no, we don't hunt deer. We control animals when they get to a level where they're damaging the environment or agricultural land. Now, what we find interesting is when people come to a site and they actually get to see what's around them, and then they go, oh, I understand why you'd want to protect this landscape, things totally change. So maybe really it's about communication. In the bush, we don't have communication channels back to people in metro areas.
How important is it for the government to be doing more, whether that's through funding your business here or directly supporting the farmers?
I think government funding, if we look at biosecurity, is to do more. The question is, do you spend more money or do you just try and get better results on the ground? Like ultimately, as a contractor, I don't think they should spend more money on contractors, because I think that creates contractors just chasing cheap work. I think government co-investing with landholders to do effective pest control. And when I say effective, it's got to be measured. There's got to be, I had X number prior to and after the control program. We've done some monitoring and we've now got Y numbers and we've got an improvement of whatever the difference is. I think that the government says the right things and the government tries to do the right things. One of the things that the government is doing that's just amazing is they're investing in training. And I think that that's a really good one, because if you invest in training or education for mature age people who are already land managers, you get genuine commercial benefits or benefits back to the state. And one of the ones they've been doing really well is through AgSkilled. We've been delivering some drone training to landholders in regional and remote areas. And it's phenomenal because we work with landholders who manage large or sometimes vast areas. If we can share a snippet of what we do as contractors with them and give them some skills and knowledge and confidence to take this gear to work, that's a benefit. And we have those people coming back to us saying, oh, guys, we're doing this and we're not only using it for our pest control, we're also checking waters and we're checking our fences and we're covering more ground, and now we're moving into weed management and it's improving our productivity. To me, that's like, that's where everyone wants to put some energy. If we can align with anything that empowers other people in rural and remote areas like where we live, I'm all over it. I want to be part of it. I think the danger with funding is if the measurement is how much we spent, it's just like, yeah, I don't have an answer for is spending money on its own a good thing, but I think if you can have people who are reputable and skilled share their knowledge with other people in the state's community, if we can do that together with some government backing, from my viewpoint, I think that's a great outcome.
If nothing changes, what do you think the next few years will look like for farmers?
If nothing changes, wow, that's scary, Jack. What keeps me awake at night is if we don't do anything about biosecurity, we won't even have productive agriculture. Like at the moment, I can't remember exact what the number is, but the latest ABARE statistics suggest something like, I don't know, between 800 and 900 million dollars annually is what the cost of pest animals is. And if you work on the breakdown of production in New South Wales, cost of pest animals just to agriculture, not environment, would still be somewhere between 100 million and 200 million dollars per year. Now, if we're seeing populations do this, and pigs are increasing in population and footprint, wild dogs certainly are, deer, we've got a state deer strategy, but we know that deer are quite recently being spotted in areas they weren't before, or species of deer that were not like hog deer that were only in Victoria, and now they're moving up into southern and central New South Wales. If we don't do something about that, if that number starts to climb incrementally along with population, if we don't do something about it, we're not only going to have farmers who can't afford to farm, or the cost of production to get an animal or a kilo of product to market is out the window. If that pest number keeps climbing, what do we do when the next big disease outbreak happens? We hear it in the media, FMD, lumpy skin, all of these things, and we say, oh no, but it's in Indonesia. Have a look at the modelling. It's only got to come in on one shipment, and we seem to have a record of diseases that should not enter Australia somehow encroaching on our borders. If we can't control pest animals now, and at least maintain, let alone reduce, but maintain, stop them growing, what do we do if we do have an FMD outbreak?
There's some mind-boggling numbers. I'm really glad that a company like Bralca is already there managing it now. This isn't just a farming issue. It affects food production, costs, and the sustainability of rural communities. Most people don't usually think about pest control, but for farmers, it's a constant battle, and one that's getting harder to win. If you want to see more stories from rural Australia, please make sure to subscribe.